Hey everybody, how's it going? Claudia again, and welcome to another Student Gov Uncut, where I stare into the camera and just talk for however long about any topic related to student government that you want me to cover. Um, Uncut, unedited. And I just been thinking about a question that I've received in the past. Haven't received it so much these days, but it still comes up, and that is student government a cult? And I think this stems from the idea that student government is similar to sororities or fraternities. In the past, I have described I have I have described student government as being like a political fraternity or a political sorority. I've used those words in the past. So people would think, okay, so there's an initiation and hazing, just like in student government. Student government has it like a sorority or a fraternity would, and it kind of raised the question of whether student government was a cult. I am not an expert. I'm not a sociologist or a social scientist of any kind. I don't quite know that much about cults. The closest I have ever been to being in a cult was I was working for a direct marketing company. Those people who it's like a pyramid scheme. Almost it's like a they call it multi-level marketing, and those can be quite cultish. They have certain traditions. They constantly brainwash you. You're not. They discourage you from talking to family, friends. They don't want you to get outside perspectives. They want to keep everything in within, right? Um, they have a certain set of rituals and certain phrases that they use over and over to really cement the idea that this business is the only way to make money in this world and it is the best opportunity for you. The problem is that it's really not great. You get paid pennies, sometimes below minimum wage. There's no HR. There's really nothing that protects you. You're just sort of, you're told you're making a little bit of money now, but stick with it, and pretty soon you'll reach the promised land. Meaning, like you'll have your own business and you'll start anew. Mary Kay is a similar structure to this. Avon is very similar to this. Herbalife, you've heard of these brand names, and they've oftentimes been accused of being like cults. Student government, um, is it a cult? I do think that it depends on which branch, and it kind of depends on who's in charge. So, from my experience, no, it's not. It's very fraternal, and there's a lot of camaraderie, and people just come together for a common cause. But there's no cult elements. You're in student government. You're not told hey, you shouldn't talk to your family and your friends about this. Or, there's no punishment for people who question. If anything, it's encouraged. So I know recently I've been questioning a lot of the leadership within student government and sort of the way we do things. And no one has told me, hey, Claudia, you got to go. You can't bring that here. So um, you are free to question things. In fact, that's why you're there. So no, it's not structured like a cult. I think what people mean when they say is student government a cult is they want to know if it's cliquish. Yeah, they want to know if people sort of keep to themselves. And I started thinking about the elements within student government that are like a lot of other elements that you do for a short, like a group that you're a part of for a limited period of time, and then you leave and you find yourself having withdrawal symptoms. It happened to me. It's happened to a number of people I know. They're part of student government, then they graduate or their term is over and they go about their day and they just can't cope with the real world. They can't cope with life outside of student government. And I think maybe the better question is student government addictive? Can you become addicted to student government? Um, and I think a lot of it comes from the elements of what student government does, right? So you are given a title, you have more purpose to your actions, you're a part of you're surrounded by a group of people who believe in you and they think um, that you are the chosen one, right? Because you technically were chosen, right? You were elected, so there's that element of being the one, the chosen one. You feel like you have people who depend on you and you depend on other people. And I think in a world where we are so overwhelmed by social media and we're just so disconnected from other people, it has the potential to be quite addictive. Now, this isn't singular to student government. I've seen this happen with football players. You know them, right? The people who they play football in high school, and then you see them. They're 40 years old. They're 100 pounds overweight. They have a bad farmer's tan, and they still go to the football games for a high school. And you think, what is a 50-year-old doing at a high school football game? You see it with some of the theater kids at school, right? The kids who did high school theater, they were in a production of Godspell or Anything Goes or some other musical, and they just can't stop talking about their glory days of being in high school theater, being a drama nerd and listening to Liza Minnelli and Barbra Streisand nonstop and talking about how they loved Lin-Manuel Miranda before he got big. And I say this because I used to be that person. So I'm speaking from experience when I talk about the drama nerds. But this isn't singular to student government. It happens in many different areas where people just they want to come back. I think this is one of the biggest reasons why alumni associations in colleges and universities make so much money, because the truth is, you can get on the phone with somebody, and if you graduate from a college or university, you know this, you know that they just can't stop mailing you stuff, sending you stuff. They want you to come back. Um, because they want to attach those feelings that you had when you were in college to being to they just want to attach that to your money. So they're like, oh, give us money, and you can help fund that for somebody else, which is another problem in and of itself. But the point here is that if you are part of student government and you really drink the Kool-Aid, it can get intense. um, I I I've certainly been part of that at times. There were times where um, student government was really everything. I was convinced, that like this is the way, like this is gonna matter, and I'm gonna make an impact. And then you leave and you realize nobody knows who you are, nobody remembers you, and nobody really cares. If you were senator or president or whatever, yeah, 100 years ago, nobody cares anymore. Now there are other issues. You're not granted respect, right? Because there typically are not alumni associations within student government. So it's up to you if you want to meet people again. Um, but it's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking that student government is a cult, or thinking that this is, like, for some people it's like a new religion. And I mean, I think I've seen some pretty intense stuff, but it's nothing compared to the stuff that you see at for instance, I'm in San Diego, in the state of California. So our state capital is up in Sacramento, which is several hundred miles up north. And the people there, like, the closer you are to the capital, and I'm talking about SSCCC here. There, I said it. The closer you are to the capital, the more zealous people become about student government. They are convinced. I mean, they will put their hand on a stack of Bibles and swear that this is what they were born to do. And it sometimes blinds them. But you talk to these people and you think, okay, then what have you done? And they're like, oh, well, I talked to legislators, I talked to senators, I spoke to the governor. Okay, great, good for you. And what did the governor do? Probably nothing. It was a good photo opportunity for you, but that was it. But the whole idea that student government can make a difference, I think there's some truth to that. I'm not that big of a pessimist. But I think it's up to you as the individual to make that change. It's not enough to talk to the governor. In fact, most of the people who've made a difference, some of the biggest icons, right? You think about, like, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg. Think about what you use in your daily life. Many of that didn't come from politicians. I've said it before. If Dr. King had been a president, would he have made as big of a difference? What about Rosa Parks? She didn't have to be a legislator or a senator or a congresswoman to make a difference. Cesar Chavez didn't have to be in government to make a difference. So why do you need a position to make a difference? And it comes from this idea of power. I don't think it's an addiction to power. I think it's, you see the position and you think, oh my gosh, this will solve all my problems. Or you have this idea of what the position will actually do, but then later on you find out that even though it's a lot of fun, you made it to the end of your term and you haven't really accomplished what you wanted. So I know I rambled. That's the whole point of Student Gov Uncut. But I just want to say that if you were in student government and you find yourself missing that feeling of being part of something bigger, you're not alone. You are so not alone. And if you're in student government right now and you're getting ready to graduate, rest assured, it, it may happen to you. I don't know. Everybody's different. But this is one of those things that advisors don't talk about, your counselor won't talk about, your friends won't talk about. It's just something you'll feel and you'll wonder why you feel so left out. But what I encourage you to do if you do feel this way is, and it's something that I'm working on now, is to start an alumni group for the people who were in student government. Start an alumni network. You don't, do the best that you can with this. Keep in touch with people. Every once in a while, have a reunion of sorts, and keep in touch with people, because even though the whole government thing, the whole government structure, it may have its faults. In fact, it definitely has its faults. But the relationships that you build in student government, that stuff meant something to you. And the people in it were a part of your life, and you were a part of theirs. There's no mistaking that that's true. So don't let that die because you feel like you didn't make a difference in student government. That's really all I want to say for now. I can talk about it forever, but it's already been about 11 minutes. So if you have any other topics you'd like me to cover, please let me know. I'm more than happy to answer anything as best as I can. And I thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.